Hi there, it's Chris Dam again from Brantford Toyota, the General Sales Manager here, and today I'm kind of excited. Look what landed last night. It's the 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser. So Land Cruiser sort of was born in around 1958, and it's been in countries all over the world. There's different versions of this vehicle all over the world. So if you look at one of these in Europe, for instance, or in South America, they all look a little different. We haven't had them in Canada, like I said, since about 1989. And again, it wasn't a very high volume vehicle. We do have other four-wheel drive vehicles like the 4Runner, etc. It sort of morphed into something much more luxury than off-road as time went on. So the latest version of this was in the United States. I gotta think now, about 2020, somewhere in there. And it was very big. It was very expensive. Had a big V8 in it, that sort of thing. Lovely, lovely car. But then they kind of canceled it. And now it's back again. So this is the vehicle for not only Canada, but for the United States. There's a Lexus version which looks very similar to this, but has a little different powertrain. So what does Land Cruiser mean? Well, like I said, it's got a lot of history. They're known to go into the outback, into the off-road, and bring you back again. And in some cases, they're bringing back drivers of other vehicles that broke down out there. That's the thing about the Toyota Land Cruiser. It's legendary. It's been all over the world. It's been through wars. It's been through jungles. It's been through everything. That's the vehicle to have if you're going to get into that sort of situation. Now, ironically, the one we have here is a premium package, so we have these very large wheels on it. So it's a little more luxury than off-road, the way this one's set up. That being said, it can still do some pretty amazing things. So you'll notice that Land Cruisers from the past, they have this iconic round headlight, and you're thinking, well, they've gone to a square one. With this one, there's actually a couple models with the round headlights. I think the 1958 edition, which is the year that Land Cruiser was born. It's more of our base model with a cloth interior. Those will have red round headlights. And then the first edition, which is the top model, the most expensive version, will also have round headlights. So it's what you prefer. Maybe you're like the square headlight thing, and some folks like the round headlights. While we're in the front, just touching on the fog lights for a minute. So you get some rigid fog lights, and you actually have a choice of colors. So there's a switch inside, they're your typical white light. But if it's foggy, and that's why they call them fog lights, you can throw a switch. It makes them like a kind of a bright yellow and amber sort of light, which cuts through the fog a little better. So it gives it a little different look. So that's something unique to the Land Cruiser. Walking along the side of the vehicle, again, there's our big 21-inch wheels. Just to talk about the frame on this truck for a minute. So it shares a platform with the Tundra, it shares a platform with the Tacoma, and it shares a platform with the upcoming 4Runner. Just slightly different versions, but the idea is that you basically have the same frame and it kind of gets stretched one way or the other. Somebody had said in Toyota that things have to be up to a Land Cruiser. This would be our flagship SUV. It's an icon. And it's noted for going anywhere you need it to go and back again. So it has to be tough, it has to stand up. So the frames that's on all these trucks, this fully boxed frame, was actually designed for Land Cruiser. So it meets a Land Cruiser standard, and then they applied it to Tundra and Tacoma and 4Runner. So if this is the standard, the rest of our trucks now get kind of one-upped because they're now up to that level. So just looking at some of the styling from the side, and again, it's easy to compare this to a 4Runner. 4Runner in Canada has been extremely popular. It kind of represents our oldest technology currently. So the good news is there's a new 4Runner coming, which is going to be, in a lot of ways, very similar to this truck. But the Land Cruiser is just a little bigger in every dimension. It's a little wider, a little longer than the current one, and it's a little taller. So I'm 6'2", and this thing is not a short vehicle. But it's also got a very low, what they call belt line here. So when you're inside, lots of glass, easy to see where you're going. Your windshield is a little more upright than you would see on maybe a lot of modern cars anymore. So that they call that the A-pillar. Again, visibility is not taken away when you're going through the bush, whatever, rock crawling. Mirrors, instead of sticking out nice and wide, they tend to be a little taller. And again, just so you're not rubbing against tree branches and all that sort of thing. So it's very purpose built. Yes, this particular one has the wheels on it to, you know, go out to dinner, but it still has all the technology in place that gets you through the rough. Now, one other thing, we'll talk about it has an automatic disconnecting, well, not automatic, a disconnecting stabilizer link in the front. So stabilizer bars, of course, they keep your wheels kind of in line when you're at speed. You want things to stay put. But when you're off-road, that stabilizer bar can kind of limit the articulation. So the articulation is when you're going over some uneven ground and this wheel is dropping. So by disconnecting, you hit a button, it disconnects that stabilizer bar. The wheel has a few more inches of travel, and the more you can keep a wheel on the ground, on the dirt, on the rock, whatever, therefore you have traction in that wheel. So that's something that's, again, even though this one's kind of set up a little more luxury, it can do some pretty amazing things off-road. Again, from a design standpoint, I talked about how we got a kind of a lower belt line here, and then it kind of swoops up. Well, it's harkening back to some of the Land Cruisers of old, of the original versions that you kind of, you know, when you look up Land Cruiser on the internet, you'll see pictures of these ones going through the jungle and whatnot. Same with the roof racks. It's not just a little roof rack just for your kayak. You can put some pretty beefy stuff up there. It's designed to take quite a load. It's an iconic design, an iconic shape, but it's brought into modern times. Very aerodynamic still, even though it's a little boxy. But they got a lot of little tips or little tricks in there as far as cheating the wind that make it still a very efficient vehicle. Moving around the back here, and you'll see something that we have on a few of our other vehicles. That, of course, is the little net zero symbol, but it's iForce Max. Pretty much the same symbol you'll see on the Toyota Crown, because it's a kind of a similar drivetrain. So we have a 2.4 liter turbo inline 4-cylinder engine, and mated with an electric motor, and then we have an 8-speed transmission. So it's a full-time 4-wheel drive, so there's none of this, you know, when it gets a little snowy, you got to worry about engaging the 4-wheel drive. It's always there. But it's a hybrid. It is a hybrid system, and it's more for the power and the smoothness and the torque than it is maybe for fuel economy. Fuel economy combined, it's actually pretty good. It's around 10.1 is what it's rated for a vehicle this size. Not bad, not bad. But you have about 340 horsepower, and more importantly, you got 465 pound-feet of torque. So lots of go, lots of power for getting you wherever you need to. And on top of that, it tows about 6,000 pounds. So a lot of our Forerunner, the current Forerunner tows about 5,000 pounds. Our Highlanders tow about 5. You need something you got the trailer that's just a little bigger. You probably need to start looking at something like a Land Cruiser, because that'll do the job for you. So one nice little feature on the back here, it does actually have glass that opens separately, which is kind of cool if you've got a bunch of soccer balls and you just need to put them in and you're worried about, because your driveway's on an angle and they're all going to come flying out, or watermelons, what have you. That's a nice little feature. And our tailgate, powered, of course. Again, this unit just came in, so we got a lot of PDI stuff all hanging around back here. You'll see some cup holders inside. You think, wow, has it got a third row? No, it doesn't have a third row. There is a Lexus model, which is its twin. That particular model actually has a third row seat back there. In the Toyota version, they have not incorporated that because they share a lot of components. You end up with, you know, USB ports and some cup holders back here, which is fine. You can use your USB ports to plug some other stuff when you're tailgating. You may be wondering what this giant cover is. Well, it's hiding the hitch. So you can take that off, put another little trim piece on, keeps your hitch protected. If you're never towing anything, you'll probably never take that off. But nice little touches like the actual hookup, the 7-pin hookup for your trailer. It's tucked up underneath there, because when you're off-roading, you don't want that to get hung up on a rock and get ripped off. Again, it's purpose-built to get into places that you can't take most vehicles, but at the same time, you're doing it in luxury. So we made our way inside the Land Cruiser. Again, a very nice place to be. Trend nowadays is to have a very black interior. It is possible to get one with a more of a caramel tan interior. It's not available in every color, but if you like that sort of a lighter feeling, that is possible to get. But this being the premium edition, we got a lot of little toys on here. So we have a power tilt and telescoping steering wheel. We got this little screen here that's reading my face that tells you when your eyes start going off the road. It snaps. It's basically if you're a little tired behind the wheel and you start to drift off, it sees that stuff and says, hey, wake up, right? But it'll also give you grief if you're maybe taking a little too much time looking at the signs that are beside you, or you're talking to your significant other beside you for too long. So that's all on this unit here. Nice big screen. One of the things they've done on purpose is it's more of a squared off type of setup, and the reason for that is when you're off-roading and you're putting the vehicle in situations where it's kind of tipping back and forth. When everything's kind of square, it helps you orientate what is happening. Meaning if everything was sort of very organic and round and you're kind of on a bit of a tilt, you may not realize it as much. So it's sort of like your little it's helping you gauge what's happening around you on the outside. But as a result, we've got a nice, very rugged, very beefy look to it. Nice big, we don't have little joysticks in here. This is an actual nice big handle. I mentioned that this vehicle is a full-time four-wheel drive system, and but it does have a low range. So instead of going from high 2 to high 4 and then into low, you're already in high 4. So from here you can actually engage the low setting like you would in, say, a Tundra or a Tacoma. You can lock up the rear differential. You can lock up the center differential. So basically you can get it to the point where all the wheels are kind of all turning at the same pace, and that's going to help you get out of some muck. Here's a little button here for disconnecting that stabilizer bar I was referring to earlier. There's a crawl control, like a downhill crawl control. It's sort of like an off-road cruise control, which is a very simplified way of saying it, but it's going to hold the vehicle using the transmission, its internal braking, at a certain speed while you're descending something that maybe is a little loose. So if you're going down your decline or an incline, what's under your tires is a little loose, and by jamming on the brake, you risk locking up a wheel and getting a little squirrely. The crawl control, the downhill assist, will help you kind of navigate that safely and slowly. Little things like that. That's all built in. Multi-terrain select. So this is stuff that we have on, a lot of our off-road vehicles, but the Land Cruiser kind of, you're going to use it in here. So if there's an off-road technology in the Toyota stable, it's in this vehicle. It still has some modes for your regular day-to-day driving. So there's a mode select button. So it's going to revert to normal. It does have a sport mode. So what does that do? Well, it's going to make it so that gas engine is always running. So when you hit it hard, it's going to react a lot quicker. It's going to give it all the boost, all the electric power it has on tap, and it's going to launch you. So you got lots of go. Not good for fuel economy when you put it in that mode. If you want the fuel economy, there is still an eco mode. And so it's going to kind of retard things a little bit. It's going to make it so that gas engine isn't aggressive. And your output from your electric motors isn't going to hit so hard. It's just going to take things back a little easier on the gas pedal if that's the way you want to drive. To me, normal mode is probably the best way to go. Everything just works correctly. Nice little creature comforts, USB charging ports everywhere. I'm staring at 3 of them right here. You can charge your phone. It has that Qi charging system. It's a little grippy now because in the past we've had some vehicles where maybe it's a little slippery and that phone slides around a lot. This actually has a bit of a rubber texture to it, so it'll hold it in place. But comfy vehicle. And again, I like to compare it to a 4Runner. A 4Runner is not going to quite have the same headroom. Again, I'm 6'2". There's lots of room in here. And it's just a little bigger in every dimension. You got a nice commanding view of the road. This is a very nice place to be. And then of course I always want to answer the question, would I drive it to Florida? Oh, I'd drive this to Florida, absolutely. So that's a very high level look at the 2024 Land Cruiser. Sort of the irony of being a dealer, every one of these things that come in, they're all pre-sold. So we can't run it through its paces. So hopefully in the future, we'll have maybe an extra one we can demo and kind of put it through its paces a little bit, so to speak. If you like the video and you like the content, please like and subscribe at the bottom of the video. Once again, my name is Chris Day. I'm General Sales Manager here at Brantford Toyota. And until next time, have yourself a great day.